It's not easy or maybe necessary to trace the way that my musical taste spiraled outward to a point where now I'm kind of a fan of almost everything that I hear, but I'm a person who, up until the age of 10 or so, listened exclusively to top 40 country through my parents and top 40 pop and R&B through my classmates. But in 1997, when Buffy the Vampire Slayer premiered, we began watching it as a family. And the music on Buffy changed my life in a number of ways. The bands who played at the Bronze, all of the incidental music was just so different and so outside of my comfort zone. I had never heard things that were pretty and fucked up at the same time. And while I didn't know at the time that I was hearing bands like Rasputina for the first time, or that I was hearing deep cuts from records by Sarah McLachlan and Third Eye Blind, that I would come to love and would become some of the most important albums in my life for years to come, I did know that what I was hearing was different and amazing, and that I loved everything about it. It was kind of a harbinger. Like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in so many ways, introduced me to concepts before I experienced them. So the sort of disenfranchisement of being a teenager. I mean, I was 10 at the time. I didn't really have teen angst. I felt reasonably well understood by my family. But as I became a teenager, I got the idea that there was something about me that was just extraordinarily different from the people that I loved, and put me at odds with them. But from my perspective, from my side, was a virtue. And that's Buffy. There's so much that show did for me. But introducing me to this music and the idea that music could do the things that the music in Buffy does was profoundly important. I think that everything I find sexy about music I first heard on Buffy. You know, when I think of the music of the Bronze, I think of, horn samples, and I think of like slinky bass lines, and I think of ghost notes on a snare drum, and I love everything about that stuff. I eventually became a fan of Portishead, big fan of Portishead, and I don't think that Portishead was ever featured on the show, but it's kind of stylistically similar to what was going on at the Bronze. I just can't overstate how much this music meant to me and being exposed to this stuff. I mean, the first punk record that I heard was The Offspring's Americana, which, if punk rock is a quantity that can be measured or a quality that can be measured, Americana is pretty low on the scale of punk rock. But my sister's friend had bought a copy on the strength of Pretty Fly for a White Guy, the big single from the record, and it was the only single that had been released at the time. She had no idea what the rest of this album would sound like, and she hated it. But I remember listening to it when she brought it to our house and was hanging out with my sister, and I was just floored. I thought it was amazing. And the loud, crunchy guitars and the like vague political ideology that's espoused, and the disenfranchisement again, the frustration of that record. But what really endeared it to me initially was that the song "The Kids Aren't All Right" sounded to me a lot like the theme from Buffy. And so my ears perked up, and I paid attention to that song, and I paid attention to this record, and it became the reason that I pursued punk rock in my musical taste. And maybe nothing has been more important in my life than discovering punk rock. I owe that to Buffy. And maybe I would have come to punk rock, maybe I would have come to Portishead and these other things without the music of Buffy and without the music of the Bronze specifically. But that's how it happened. And I'm grateful. I love everything about that show. I love so much of the music. Later on you get kind of middle of the road pop nonsense like Michelle Branch, but most of it, especially in the early seasons, is fantastic and just opened my eyes in a way that nothing ever had at that point. I was not wowed by anything until the Bronze. So that's this is VEDA. This is the first day of April, And so for the next 30 days, the next 29 days, I will be doing a video every day. I may not be uploading them every day, but I will be shooting them because editing is hard and takes a while. But probably I will see you tomorrow. If you have not watched Buffy, or if you've not rewatched Buffy and paid attention to the music, you're probably going to hear some remarkable stuff that you maybe didn't notice the first time through. So you should do that, and I will see you later.